Dear Sagittarius, you're not being invited to just hear a forecast. You're being invited to witness something. Something that's breathing, very close to you. If you're here today, it's not because you're curious. It's because a very subtle part of you has already received a signal, but hasn't found words for it yet. There's an energy moving through you like a fine current. Not loud, but unmistakable. It doesn't knock, because it doesn't need to. It only needs you to be quiet enough to hear. And I say this to you, not as a reader of cards, but as a soul who has walked through many gateways and once stood still, right where you're standing now. Tomorrow, Sunday the 30th, an unexpected shift, powerful enough to alter the map of your soul, will arrive. It may come in the form of a choice or a message, but you must be ready, because if not, you'll miss it. Just like people often miss the opportunities disguised as hesitation. Over the past few days, maybe you've felt something stretching through the space around you, a sound cracking in your chest that you can't quite name as joy or sorrow, as if something is trying to be born from within you. A sound that isn't physical, but echoes from the emotional depth you've never dared put into words. When I prepared this reading, I felt it clearly, that an unseen force is trying to move you into your rightful place. Not the place society gave you, but the place you were born to take. You may not realize it, but you're already standing in front of a door, and your hand has been near the handle for a long time. You just never believed you could open it. So today, I need you to do something. Pause, take a deep breath, and write in the comments below. I am fully ready to receive the life-changing news meant for me. Because that sentence is how you say yes to what's coming. And it won't wait much longer. The moment I placed my hands on the cards, one of them flew out, as if a force didn't want me to delay. Not all cards are drawn. Some find their way to you. I'll read this with deep reverence, because what I feel in the air today is not comfort, but confirmation. Confirmation that you survived, not out of luck, but because of a courage you never gave yourself credit for. You've been through more than others can see. You stayed silent when the world demanded explanations. You kept going when the only reason left was, I just can't fall apart right now. Maybe life has been testing you lately, pushing you to your edges, but not to break you, only to prove you are never as fragile as they thought. The first card is not consolation, it's a declaration, a card of victory, not a symbolic win, not a motivational phrase, a real, tangible, visible breakthrough. Not compliments, not cliches, but something that truly shifts your course. And as I looked deeper, saw it connected to a very specific longing, something you've been holding in your heart for a long time. Maybe it's a message, a confirmation, a payment that's been stuck, a contract that never got signed, a call that hasn't been made, a door that closed. For reasons beyond your control, I want you to answer yourself, silently, right now. What exactly have you been hoping for? And do you have courage to admit you really need it? Because this blessing isn't just a gift, it's a reward. A reward for the maturity you've earned in silence. You already paid for it. With sleepless nights, with grace when you could have screamed, with love, even when it wasn't returned. And that is why this is rushing toward you at the speed of light. Nothing arrives by accident. Everything comes by frequency. And the frequency you've been radiating has finally touched the source of your miracle. As I speak these words, the second card reveals itself. It's a card that opens the physical realm, not just with money, but with value. A clear shift from an old reality into a new one. I don't see coins, I see flow. Not small gains, but long-term movement. This isn't a lucky break. It's a direct reflection of what you've become. It could be a contract that's finally signed after being held back for far too long. A job that once rejected you, suddenly calling you back. A business offer you never saw coming. A financial gate finally turning green. Or maybe something that's been sitting on the table, waiting for confirmation, has finally been approved. Tell me in the comments, what do you think that blessing is? Not for me to know, but for you to see yourself in every word you write. And then, something else happens. A movement card appears, bold, direct, undeniable. Not a metaphor, not a symbol, but a real physical shift. A move, a change of home, a change of work, a change of land, a shift in your circle, or a version of you finally stepping out of an old identity and walking toward who you were always meant to be. This is movement that cannot be delayed any longer. Either you take the step willingly, or life will pull you there, one way or another. Have you been feeling uncomfortable lately in the space you live in? Are you thinking about changing homes, careers, relationships, maybe even beliefs? If yes, you're not losing your mind, you're just being guided toward the right place. One hand holding your most precious dreams, and the other ready to grasp the new certainty that's waiting for you. Don't be afraid, because you are living proof that freedom isn't about running away. Freedom is the ability to walk through the next door without needing anyone's permission. And in the next part, I'll tell you about how the things you thought were lost are returning, wiser, healthier, and more aligned than never before. Please, don't go, because the story isn't finished. And this time, the next chapter will be written by your own hand. Now, as I look at the cards laid across this old wooden table, I see a strong current forming. Not random magic, but a precise synchronization between three energetic layers: action, finances, and personal liberation. This event isn't coming to confuse you, it's coming to return something you once gave away. In silence, balance. Some storms don't come to destroy, they come to deliver ships to a new shore. And Sagittarius, within you, a new shore has always existed. It's just been waiting for you to give it a name. Through action. I won't say it'll be easy, but I will say this with certainty. What's coming will bring peace. A kind of inner quiet you haven't felt in years. Not the fake kind. The one you forced on yourself so others wouldn't worry about you. I'm talking about a true inner anchor. A place no one can push you from. Once you've rediscovered your own clarity. And when I spoke the word balance, you felt it, didn't you? Because you know how long it's been since it slipped from your hands, and you know you're ready to reclaim it. But before I reveal what comes next, I want you to stay. Please, don't walk away just yet, because the next part isn't something you'll want to hear, but your soul has a duty to know it, not to fear it, but to protect yourself. If you're truly ready to listen, write this in the comments. I'm still listening, and I deserve to be protected by truth. Because a shadow figure has just emerged in this reading. Not someone new, not a stranger, but a familiar energy. Old, toxic, and once tightly attached to you. Someone who once used your trust, turned your kindness into their advantage. I feel intense jealousy. I feel the sensation of being watched, not with eyes, but with the frequency of control and manipulation. Someone is watching you, not out of love, but because they are obsessed with what you are about to receive. They're not watching because they care. They're watching because they see in you a future they don't have the courage to build for themselves. And now that the cards reveal financial victory, a tangible opportunity for success, this energy grows dangerous. They may try to come back, not with demands, but wearing a soft mask. But you're no longer the version of yourself who forgives too quickly or lets compassion drown out wisdom. So I ask you, and answer this in your heart. Do you know who I'm talking about? You don't need to name them. You just need to admit it. Because awareness is the first layer of protection. I'm not asking you to carry anger. I'm asking you to carry memory. Not a memory full of hate, but a memory full of clarity. Because some lessons are not meant to be repeated. You're about to step into a Sunday with a turning point written all over it. And this person might try to claim a part of it that was never meant for them. The next card rises. Like a long breath you used to hold in silence. It speaks of heartbreak. But this is not new pain. This is old pain. Once hidden beneath so many layers, once overlooked so you could keep going. This time, it returns for one reason, so you can finally close the door with clarity, not out of anger, but out of wisdom. The one who hurt you is not returning because they changed. They're returning because you are changing, and they fear losing the control they once felt so natural around you. So please, keep your plans close. Don't reveal truths that are still forming. Don't hand your trust to anyone who once left you in the dark when you needed it most. Something beautiful is coming, but it will only stay beautiful if it remains protected until it grows strong enough to stand on its own. Now the reading shows me a mirrored vision. Two forces intertwined, the magician and the mirror. It says, what you once believed became the world you once lived in, not because you lacked strength, but because you believed too little in yourself. But today, you believe differently. Today, you stand differently. You learned not to ask permission to be yourself. You learned not to celebrate before the victory fully arrives. You learned not to shrink your truth to comfort someone else's fear. You are no longer the one chasing signs. You are the one creating the vibration that makes signs chase you. You don't just dream anymore. You walk. Even with a heart that once cracked, you kept going. Like fire that remembers its own origin. You never stopped burning, even when the sky felt silent. And here, I see the card of the world emerging. Not the ending point, but total expansion. A full cycle, closed the right way. A victory that reaches beyond Friday night illusions into the reality of Sunday morning sunlight. Victory, abundance, rebirth, recognition, inner freedom. Everything you once thought was impossible is beginning to take shape. No hesitation, no disguise, no apology to the old world. Just one nod from your soul. Just one whisper you need to give the universe. I'm ready. because the miracle has been set, the feast has been prepared, the stage is already lit. You only need to sit at the table and say yes. But there is one last card. I kept it for the final moment because it's powerful. It's the card of liberation, the bird flying out of fire. Never back to the old nest, never again asking if it's allowed to soar. Tomorrow, on Sunday the 30th, a message may reach you fast enough to shake the ground beneath your feet. A call, a text, a signal, a confirmation. And you will feel your nervous system react before your logic explains. Not chaos dragging you down, but mercy lifting weight off your shoulders. This collapse is not a disaster. It is compassion wearing the mask of change. A breakdown of old identities, old expectations, old emotional furniture, slid across the same floor for far too many years. When you move something heavy that's been sitting too long, a mark remains on the ground. But that mark, it's not damage. It's space waiting to be used. The ancient gateways whispered to me clearly, you are no longer here to hold expired versions of yourself. You are here to expand into what you once feared receiving. You are here to become the main character of your own victory. And I see them fall in threes now, like three prophecies running parallel, a message, or a contract, or approval you thought was frozen forever, suddenly turning green. Justice appears now, the correction you were never thanked for, never paid for, never seen for. Now returning to you through a higher law, not human law, soul law, not minor support. A rising financial wave that changes your nervous system's definition of enough. You lived for years thinking, almost enough, close enough, barely enough, but not anymore. I don't see coins, I see flow, not stacks, a current, not a bargain, a confirmation, not randomness, frequency. I don't say everything comes easily. I say everything comes accurately. And before we reach the next part, something must be admitted. You know it already. Your heart responded already. Your soul recognized it already. You are not being punished by collapse. You are being blessed by release. So take a long breath now. And if this truth touched you, not in your ears, but in your spine, your nervous system, your memory, your faith, write this in the comments with me. I accept liberation. I choose the higher version of myself because awareness is protection. Memory is wisdom. And your yes is the ignition. Stay with me because the next part will reveal the gift that accompanies the financial blessing, the one no one can steal, no one can replace, and the one that never gets delayed once you agree to receive it. And please hear this clearly. I will not repeat it again. You were never meant to walk alone. And the door, it opens the moment you stop asking if it's allowed to. I see a tightening in your chest, like an old memory rising to the surface, a sense of loss that was never fully healed. And I'm being reminded from the other side that when destiny truly opens, some doors must close for good, not because you don't deserve them, but because they no longer deserve you. They once hurt you. They once held you in place through fear disguised as love, as duty, or habit. And if those doors don't close, your blessing won't be able to find its way in. Please hear this. A blessing cannot coexist with an old frequency. You can't carry everything with you from the past and expect the future to arrive in new colors. Some people, some connections, some old dreams, They need to be released with love, but not with longing, because tomorrow, when the news arrives, it will come fast, and you'll need a clear, open space to receive it. That's why I'm here today, to remind you, you've come too far to turn back now. You don't need permission to open the final door. Every collapse is just a realignment to bring the right people at the right time. And if what I'm saying is waking something in your heart, write this in the comments. I've carried it long enough. I give myself permission to be free. And stay with me. Because next, I'll show you a new kind of map. Not one drawn by fear, but one made of sovereign choice. By someone who is about to walk into wealth, not just in money, but in being. And you'll need to hear this closely, because what I feel in your field isn't ordinary. I see a closing, but not like a chapter ends. It's like a door quietly shutting behind you. So your soul is no longer dragged backward. There's a connection, a person, a space in your life that's gently fading, not because you wanted it to end, but because you're stepping into a brighter space, where the old cannot survive your new light. I say this not in bitterness, but in peace, like someone who has watched many beginnings start with a goodbye. Some endings come as a shock, but are blessings in disguise. Some people leave as if by choice. But really, it's your vibration that no longer holds them. And I need to tell you this, not to scare you, but to remind you of your power. Someone from your past, someone who once caused you deep pain, is trying to cling to the light you're now creating, not because they need you, but because they can't generate that light on their own. You don't need to respond. You just need to know, because knowing is the first boundary. Not everyone deserves access to this version of you. Not everyone who used to know you should be allowed into this next chapter, and especially you, a Sagittarius soul, wide open, wise, willing to listen, willing to lift others. You are the kind of person that emotional manipulators love to reach for, not because you're naive, but because you believe in kindness. But kindness doesn't mean lack of boundaries. So this reading emphasizes one clear truth. Protect what you're building. You don't need to tell everyone your plan. You don't need to celebrate too early. You don't need to share your light with those who laughed when you were down. What I see clearly is this. You are not alone in this. I feel the presence of a woman in your bloodline, not someone still living, but a guiding spirit who once stood watch beside your bed on nights when no one else knew you were breaking. Someone who whispered to your heart, right at the edge of your surrender. You felt her through a sudden warmth in your hands, through a dream that felt too real, through a memory that returned out of nowhere. That presence is no accident. She's been the force moving you forward when everything around you begged you to stop. And that's why tomorrow, a door that once slammed shut will open, not through pressure, but through perfect alignment between your current energy and a destiny that's been waiting for you. This news, it won't just affect your finances. It will wake up a new kind of clarity, a deep internal certainty you've longed for, even if you never said it aloud. It'll be so clear you won't need a second opinion. You'll just know. Even you, who often second guesses your intuition, won't be able to deny it. And I say this with complete respect. You're starting to treat yourself differently now. Where you once shook, You now stand steady, where you once questioned. Confidence is rising, like sunlight pushing through the fog. You no longer ask to exist, you exist, and that alone is reason enough. You were born with the ability to turn the unseen into the real. You just need to stop carrying burdens that were never meant to be yours. This reading continues with a massive energetic movement, not a small step, not a temporary shift, but a full cycle, with a clear beginning, a strong middle, and a definitive end. And what moves me most is this. I don't see backtracking. I don't see you returning to old patterns. I don't see you stepping back into darkness, out of pity. All I see is light, a new land, fertile, grounded, perfectly timed, a clear path, no more confusion, no more fog. And if your heart is reacting as you hear this, that's not your imagination, that's truth. A truth you've been waiting to hear. I see conversations on the horizon. I see choices, long overdue, ready to be made. I see inner revelations bubbling to the surface. I see signs, repeating numbers, songs, sunlight patterns, memories you thought were buried, beginning to visit you, starting tomorrow morning. And one more thing. I'm holding it right now. Something I haven't spoken yet. Something beating in this reading, waiting to be named, with reverence. And if you're still here with me, write this in the comments. I am ready to protect my light. Because in the next part, I'm going to tell you how the universe is preparing to lift you, not just to survive, but to live right and to live bright, once and for all. While energy continues to shift before me, and as your destiny unfolds with each breath, I'm still here, quietly observing each signal, as if you and I are sitting at an old wooden table in a quiet Sunday afternoon room, where the light embraces every silent corner with wordless kindness. No doors have slammed shut, only unnamed winds are trying to make their way in. And you know that, don't you? You're breathing in sync with something ancient and something brand new, all at once. I can feel there's something yet to be revealed, not because it's hidden, but because it needs your peace before it can arrive. And now, at this very moment, I can feel it. Your heart is open, your intuition is ready, no more defense, no more deflection. So let me say this to you directly. I no longer see scattered cards. I see a complex astrological map, interweaving signs, planets, and your energy itself. It's telling a story you once only sensed, but today, it's ready to be named. There is a closing approaching, not one you've chosen, but one life has chosen to protect you. A closure you never asked for, but one your soul needs most right now. Because there's something you've been holding on to, simply because it used to feel familiar. A connection, an emotion, a memory. It's no longer lifting you up. It's just keeping you stuck in place. It doesn't resonate anymore. It doesn't fit anymore. And because you are rising, it must go. I know, that may sound harsh, but think of it like a piece of old furniture that sat in one place for too long. When you finally move it, it leaves a mark, not a wound, but a sign that the space is now ready for something new. And you are just the same. You've endured the delays of life like a quiet warrior in a long cloak. You've walked through doors that felt hopeless, only to discover that the key was you all along. And tomorrow, something will happen. A message, a turning point, a conversation carrying such clarity cards that every old question will suddenly feel irrelevant. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about knowing. A deep wisdom that needs no defense. You'll simply nod and move forward. The cards show me you will finally understand why someone had to leave, why what you longed for was delayed, why some arrived late and others right on time. Your heart is no longer open from loneliness. It's open from self-respect, from the clarity that says, I don't need anyone who fits my fear. I only welcome what honors my worth. And that is a new form of power, because you, who once loved with your whole universe, have now learned how to love yourself first, not from reaction, but from conscious choice. You no longer wait to be seen. You see yourself first. I see a healing unfolding in you, not from outside validation, not from another's presence, but from you. You are the torch you lit for yourself. You are the archer who left behind old arrows and became the direction. And none of this arrived through force. It came because you finally released what was never yours to carry. And I also see a conversation that never happened. It's been floating in the air between you and someone. Maybe it's a person from your past. Maybe it's a part of you you once pushed aside. It doesn't have to happen tomorrow, but tomorrow's energy will open the door for it to happen soon. A conversation that's honest, no defenses, no blaming, only release. And if not with someone else, then with yourself, in front of the mirror. To speak truthfully about what hurt you, to admit what you still long for, and to let go of what you can no longer take into your future, not out of anger, but out of love. Love for yourself, love for your values, love for the light already living inside you. And then the cards reveal something that brings me the most joy so far. A solid financial movement, not luck, not fleeting, but real, sustainable improvement. A door is opening, and this time, it won't close again. You'll breathe easier, you'll plan clearer. You'll choose your next step with both your heart and your mind. And if you're still here with me, let me know you're listening with your whole soul by writing in the comments, I am ready to live in alignment with my true worth. Because in the next part, I tell you something you may have never dared to believe, but your soul has always known a reward reserved for those who kept walking when all they had left was a single flicker of light in the palm of their hand. And even though you've often accepted small things with a humble heart, because you've grown used to surviving on just enough, because you once believed that peace and quiet was all you could ask for, today, I need you to understand something very clearly. Life wants to give you more, so much more. Not because you demanded it, but because you've earned it. You may ask, why me? Because you've been through enough hunger, both spiritual and physical, to truly honor the feeling of being full. Because you once smiled through loneliness and stayed standing when everything around you tried to make you fall. I don't just see this in the cards, I feel it in my body. As if an invisible hand is holding mine and saying, this time, don't let it pass her by. And I want you to remember this, because tomorrow there will be a sign, a very specific sign, one that feels strange, but true, one that makes your heart beat faster, not out of fear, but because your soul will whisper, this is it. It could be a sentence you overhear between strangers, a message that appears out of nowhere, someone you thought was long gone, suddenly reaching out, a number you see, again and again. A sudden shift in your emotions you can't explain. Maybe there's no logical reason at all, just a knowing so deep, it takes your breath away in the best way. And that sign will be the announcement that something big is on its way, that a new chapter is already opening. It's not just your inner world that's changing. Your outer world is catching up too, like a heavy fog, finally lifting, revealing light you haven't felt in a long, long time, a kind of lightness you've been waiting for. I see you stepping into a new space, a space with cleaner energy, where you don't have to explain who you are, where you can be fully you, not a version trimmed down to make others more comfortable. Maybe it's a new home, a new job, an invitation to study, to create, to collaborate, or a new circle of people, quiet souls, but deeply aligned with yours. I see a warm shelter ahead, a place where you can finally put the weight down and exhale like you've never done before. And then, something makes me smile. I see a pair of eyes, watching you from a distance, not because you're shining so brightly, but because you've learned how to shine quietly. This is a soul who respects you, someone who doesn't want to change you, but walk beside you, not someone who needs you to fill a void, but someone who sees their own light reflected when they're near yours. Maybe you already know this person, maybe they'll arrive later, but I'm certain of one thing. They're not coming from lack. They're arriving from wholeness, and they are not someone you'll have to struggle to keep. They're someone who makes the air lighter when they're beside you. All of this, the signs, the people, the shifts, they are deeply connected to the news that will arrive tomorrow. Not just to change your Sunday, but to reroute your entire path. And the most beautiful part is this: that news won't arrive like thunder. It will arrive like morning light, soft, unforced, perfectly timed. You won't have to chase it. You won't have to beg for it. It will arrive because it's always belonged to you. And right now, with the cards still open on the table, I can feel the energy still moving, not in a rush, not in a storm, but like a breeze lifting each message gently into the air, handing them to you, one by one, without closing any doors too soon, because you've learned how to be patient. Not the kind of patience that suffers, but the kind of patience that trusts. And if you're still here, leave this gentle but powerful affirmation. I open my heart to receive the light that's waited for me. Because in the next part, I'll tell you about the biggest surprise of all, a blessing you once believed you didn't deserve. But the truth is, you never stopped deserving it. It's just that now, you're finally peaceful enough to receive it. Still, my Sagittarius soul, we continue, right where we left off. We won't break the thread between us. We won't interrupt the sacred current flowing between this space. I hold my voice steady, with the warmth of an elder resting her hand gently on your chest on a quiet afternoon, whispering, "My child, there's still one more thing I want you to know." The energy still spreads out before me, like a soft, earthy path, inviting you to walk forward, without carrying fear anymore. And right now, I feel we are entering the deepest, most healing part of this entire reading. I see a picture coming into focus, not in fragments, but as a soul tapestry, woven from every challenge, every silent sacrifice, every pain you never fully showed the world. I see life standing with you now, and this time, it says, that's enough. It's time to lay the burden down. No more pretending to be strong, no more proving, no more saying yes to things that harm your spirit. You're being given back. Every part of yourself you forgot you lost. Every piece of your light, your empathy, your trust, your intuition, your strength, all of it is returning to you. Not as scattered pieces, but as polished gems, refined by every storm you've walked through. Your life force is returning, not as reckless fire, but as wisdom, as steady clarity, as the deep inner knowing that this time you won't be walking alone. This is a rebirth, without thunder, without screaming, only infinite softness, like being gently woken up in the morning, not by an alarm, but by a loving hand brushing your shoulder and whispering, "Wake up, my love. Today, something beautiful is waiting for you." And I can feel it. Your soul is stepping into a golden era, a time where you'll no longer tolerate anything that makes you small. Not because you're hard, but because you're wise. You won't stay in spaces that don't welcome you as you truly are. You won't let anyone decide your worth just because you once felt lonely. You won't sacrifice anymore if the sacrifice doesn't bring light to both sides. None of this is arriving by magic. It's arriving because you chose not to give up, and the universe saw that. I see a light shining directly on your name, not the spotlight of fame, but a beam of deep recognition, like an ancestor placing their hand on your head and whispering, "We've waited so long to witness this moment." I believe that your great-grandmother or a sacred feminine soul from your lineage is beside you now, not speaking, just present, and her presence is the proof that you won't walk alone in the dark anymore, that the roads once blocked will now be cleared, that luck won't just visit you, but will make a home in your heart. And that's why I must say this with absolute reverence. The news arriving tomorrow will change how you see your life, not with drama, not with a jolt, but with clarity. You'll pause and realize, how did I not see this before? But don't blame yourself. You see things only when you're ready. I see the pieces falling into place. I see the things that once kept you up at night finally beginning to loosen their grip. I see the flow, once blocked, now starting to move again. And I see you, no longer the weary warrior, but the sovereign of your own life, the one who stands in the center of their own story and says, "It's my turn now." And the miracle is, you no longer need anyone to validate that. And if you're still here, write this in the comments as a vow to yourself. I am my own light. I am ready to step into my noble destiny. Because in the next part, if you choose to listen, I will tell you exactly what spiritual reward is waiting for you. A reward that only those who have lived truly, loved deeply, and refused to give up are vibrating high enough to receive. Because your heart deserves real joy. Your soul deserves to rest in peace. And your life, despite all its storms, despite all the silent rips and tears, has finally been prepared to receive what has always been sacredly yours. I see it, not just in the cards, but in this space, in every subtle wave of energy swirling around as I speak your name, and then, as if echoed by every guide and guardian watching over you, I am reminded of this. It is time for you to step out of the quiet cave where you once took shelter, not to make noise, but to let your light finally reach the forgotten corners of someone else's world. You have lived as a soul who speaks a language no one understood. You've hidden your most beautiful ideas, your most refined emotions, because you feared the world would either judge them or break them. But that season has passed, because the light you carry was never meant to be hidden. It was meant to illuminate not only your own path, but the path of those still wandering through their own darkness. And I know you may be afraid, because to open up always requires courage. But now, you open not from innocence, but from wisdom. You know your worth. You no longer have to mask your truth to be loved. You no longer filter your authenticity just to be accepted. And because of that, you will no longer attract those who need saving. You will only attract those who wish to walk beside you, not leaning on you, not demanding from you, but seeing you as an equal soul, worthy of companionship, not possession. And if this reading has made you feel seen, made you feel understood, know that this is no accident. It's no coincidence that you're hearing these words right before tomorrow begins, because the universe never gets the timing wrong. And when the soul is ready, the blessing appears. And you are ready. I can feel a new peace rising inside you. Not the kind of peace that's fake and temporary, but the kind that feels whole. Because you've finally admitted, I deserve to live without shrinking. And here, in this sacred space where we've met, you don't need masks, you don't need performance, you just need to breathe. Your journey is honored, your wounds are acknowledged, and your victories are celebrated, even if you're still on your way there. Before I let this part close, I want to offer you something rare, a prayer passed down through generations, from your great-grandmother, from the women who stood through storms without trembling. When the world seemed to push against them, they closed their eyes, took a deep breath, and whispered, "Everything comes in its own time, and what arrives late often carries double the blessing." Repeat that in your heart and keep it as a sacred code, because what you've been waiting for is on its way, not on your calendar, but on your soul's clock. And that reward brings not only what you prayed for, but also the evolved version of you, the one who now knows how to keep it, respect it, let it bloom. Double blessing is coming, not just for you, but through you, for those who will enter your life because of the light you just turned on. The universe owes no one anything, but every tear you cried in silence was recorded. Every act of kindness you offered with no witness was saved. And now it is time for your heart to become the home of the blessing. And if you're still here, write in the comments, "I am ready to receive the double blessing meant for my evolved soul," because you are worthy, because you have waited long enough, and because this time the light is not going to pass you by. And I don't want you to meet this moment with doubt. I want you to receive it with the deep peace of a soul that knows it's walked a long way to stand here, where magic is no longer a maybe, but a confirmation. And now, with all the love in the world, I have only one question for you. But this is not just a question. It's a soul ritual, a sacred invitation you cannot answer with words, only with the deepest opening of your heart and the kind of honesty that has no walls left. I want you to close your eyes, place your hand over your heart, and listen to that beat, the one that's been with you since your very first breath. And from that place, I ask you this: are you ready to receive what you have always deserved, but never fully believed you could have? Are you ready to release the role of the one who struggles, the one who carries, the one who endures, and rise as a successful soul? A soul with the right to celebrate, the right to enjoy. Because sometimes we've lived in lack for so long that abundance feels unfamiliar. We've fought so hard for peace that stillness feels strange. But today, on behalf of those who came before you, I'm here to tell you, peace is safe, having money is safe, being loved is safe, and success does not mean pain is waiting around the corner. That fear is ancient, and it no longer belongs to the soul you've become. So I'll ask again, one last time, but stronger. Are you ready to let that message arrive tomorrow, not with resistance, not with doubt, but with the grace of someone who has been personally invited into their own destiny? Are you ready to let that joyful shout shatter every false belief you once held? Because every card is still on the table. Victory, abundance, justice, the world, wide open, arms stretched toward you. The only thing missing is your yes. Because the universe will never force. The universe respects you so deeply, it won't enter unless you invite it. So, invite to it. Step up to the table already set and celebrate, because your great-grandmother, the woman who smiled silently when no one believed you'd be okay, is smiling right now, not because something big is coming, but because she knows you've come home to yourself. She held your tears, and now she raises the first glass. In honor of your new destiny, feel her arms, feel that warmth, feel that protection, because you have never walked alone, and you never will. So when tomorrow comes, whether it's a phone call, a message, a look, an invitation, or a door that opens, remember this moment, remember these words, and smile. Not because you're surprised, but because you know it's all real. Magic exists, the guides have always spoken, and you are unconditionally loved. So no, this is not the end. We are simply standing at the threshold to say, I say yes, yes, to the most beautiful chapter of your life finally beginning. And if you're ready, write it down one last time. In the comments, I say yes to stepping into my light, because that light has never left you. It's only been waiting for you to return. I leave you with the map, but the journey is yours. And you, my brave Sagittarius, you've learned how to walk through storms with a torch that never went out. And now, the sky is clear. No one deserves this sunrise more than you. Everything is falling into place, and everything is only going to get better. The stage is lit. It's your turn to step forward and shine. Don't worry about the script. Your heart already knows every line. Just walk, and the ground will appear. If you feel a stirring in your chest right now, that's not a coincidence. This Sunday, something is reaching toward you from beyond the veil, not to demand anything from you, but to confirm that you have outgrown every storm that once tried to destroy you. Maybe it's time you understand something important. The good things didn't delay because you weren't enough, but because you were too busy trying to survive in a world that was never built to celebrate your soul. You didn't fail. You simply lived like you had to save everyone and forgot. You too deserve to be saved. And now that the winds have quieted, you don't have to prove anything anymore. You don't have to stay in stories just because you were the last one holding on. You don't have to keep suffering just because you were the only one who believed sacrifice was love. You don't have to shrink your dreams just to make others feel more comfortable around your light. The sky doesn't apologize for rising before the earth is ready, and neither should you. There are promises you once whispered in silence. Maybe no one heard them, but the universe never forgot. There are dreams you buried to make others comfortable. They're not dead. They're waking up right now. You don't have to go back to demand fairness from places that hurt you, because fairness has arrived in the form of a new you, the you who no longer fears loss, because you've learned how to keep yourself, the you who no longer runs, because you've learned to stand still and watch things fall away without falling apart. You've traded light for being misunderstood. You've traded freedom for being held too tightly. You've traded trust for betrayal and wisdom for sleepless nights asking, why did that have to happen to me? But now, when you look back, you don't ask why anymore. You ask, how can I use this to help someone else? And that is when your soul shifts from survivor to light bearer. This awakening doesn't need applause. It doesn't need medals. It doesn't even need apologies. It just needs one thing, for you to place your hand over your heart and say, I'm still here. I'm still loving. I'm still moving forward. And that is the greatest miracle. Today, you don't need some grand opportunity to begin again. Just one slow breath, just one fingertip brushing the edge of a door you've never dared to open, just one gaze into the future. Without fear. The universe is not waiting for you to be perfect to deliver its gifts. It's just waiting for you to be still enough to receive them, not with urgency, but with the dignity of someone who walked through fire and kept a gentle heart. It's time for you to not just be the archer, but the one who steps back, watches the arrow fly, and doesn't need to control where it lands. You don't need to know exactly what's coming, you just need to know this. You are not who you were. You are finally ready to live a life you no longer need permission to enjoy. So if this Sunday, you feel a strange wind pass through, if you hear someone calling your name in your heart, if you see a small sign that no one else notices, don't ignore it. It may be the final confirmation you've needed that you are being welcomed home, not to the place you came from, but to the person you've always dreamed of becoming, to a kind of freedom that no longer looks like rebellion, but like peace that doesn't flinch, to a kind of love that no longer feels like pursuit, but like quiet, steady presence. You don't have to force anything to stay in place anymore, because what is meant for you already knows how to find you. No matter how far you've wandered, no matter how many times you've gotten lost, all it takes is your willingness to believe again. And if you're still hesitating, let me say this for you. I believe you're ready. Write in the comments, I am ready to receive my great destiny. It's not just an affirmation, it's a signal, a seal, a sacred act for a sacred beginning.